CMF are currently supporting a growing number of missionaries in the country of Spain. And today I'm speaking with one of those missionary couples, Manuel and Alba López Franco. They are serving the Lord in the town of Almuñecar, which is on the coast of southern Spain. Manuel and Alba, thank you so much for being willing to share with us. Perhaps you could begin by telling us a little bit about yourselves and how you came to saving faith in the Lord Jesus.
Well, in my case, I was 16 years old. I had a kind of existential crisis where my curiosity looked for answers in any spiritual movement that promised to satisfy my need. But nothing worked. I wondered if it was worth living like that. But then one day, a piece of paper with a title saying, "Are you one of those broken people?" fell into my hands. And the paper was talking about the only person who could help me. How out of love for me, he had voluntarily sunk into the most muddy mud to rescue me, and so that I could have a full life. No one had ever introduced me to the figure of Jesus Christ as someone so close and so real, so truly interested and concerned about my person and my circumstances. My father told me that this leaflet had been given to him by a colleague of his, and that he has been invited to a meeting. But I was not ready yet, so I told my dad that I was not interested, although the message had touched me deeply. 2 days later, I received a letter from a friend telling me about how he had met some missionaries and how he had led Jesus Christ into his life. But I couldn't understand anything about what was going on. But immediately I linked the letter with the leaflet. So I just wonder if there might be someone to explain it to me. And the answer wasn't long in coming. And that same afternoon, my father's companion's wife came to my house. And I saw her my friend's letter in hope that she could explain it to me. But instead, she invited me to the same meeting my father's mentioned. And at that point, well, I accepted. We went to a house with a large room, and we were sat in a circle. And after singing, they held hands and began to pray. It was a prayer meeting. And I will never forget the pool of tears that formed at my feet, and the feeling of not knowing why I was there crying without being able to avoid it. Today I can look back and recognize that it was the Spirit of God planning and working in my heart that night. And I had the explanation for what had happened there. I just knew that whatever it was, I wanted in my life. From that day on, everything changed. Everything changed. My mother also noticed my change. And after a month, more or less, she also attended another prayer meeting where God transformed her. And my two brothers and my sister, more or less, they came also with her. And in a matter of 2 months, the Lord had worked a wonderful miracle of salvation in my whole family. And even today, His hand continues to hold us. And my whole family is saved by the grace of God.
Well, I was born in Obrove, a fishing village on the Atlantic coast of Galicia in the northwest of Spain. I am the middle of 3 siblings. My mother died when I was 8 years old, and my father never remarried. I am coming from a middle class family with a nominal Catholic father. I stopped attending the Roman Church very early on. My adolescence was not easy. I became a rebel without cause, and by the age of 21, I was totally disoriented. It was around that time I met a group of young evangelicals with whom I lived for a while on a farm. They preached to me and gave me a New Testament. I read the Gospels, and in a period of about 3 months I was converted, reflecting, thinking on the person of Jesus of Nazareth. After that, I joined the evangelical church in my village, and I began my walk with Christ.
Well, that's wonderful. It is always thrilling to hear how the Lord has been at work in salvation. Now then, can you describe for us what the current spiritual situation in Spain is?
Spain is different. On one hand, this is an increasingly secularized country with a growing number of agnostics and atheists, as well as nominal Catholics. As a result, laws have been passed, such as the homosexual marriage law and very recently the law of a dignified death, euthanasia. But on the other hand, all manifestations of Catholic religiosity and tradition and all kinds of superstitions are becoming more and more popular, and the number of people attending them and interested in them is increasing. As a sample of this is Easter, with its Roman Catholic parades. For the vast majority of Spaniards, the gospel of grace is completely unknown. And unfortunately, they generally consider the evangelical church to be a sect. Years of religious uniformity, elites educated in Catholicism, and considering Protestantism as a foreign religion make most Spaniards view our churches with suspicion. In this analysis, a distinction must be made between big cities and small towns and villages.
Thank you. Now let's focus in on the church in Almuñecar. Can you tell us how it came to be formed, what your involvement is, your vision, your focus, and what some of the challenges you face are?
When I was called by the mother church in Malaga, the group in Almuñecar was very small, about 5 or 6 women who met in a flat. In 2002, I traveled from Malaga to Almuñecar, which is about 70 kilometers away, twice a week with an American missionary to preach in the flat and set up a book table at the flea market. In 2003, the church sent me to Almuñecar, and I was installed and ordained as a pastor. A few months later, we were looking for a place to start the public services, and we found a garage where we stayed for about 7 years. From the beginning, I worked as a church planter, evangelist, pastor, and teacher. The vision from the very beginning has been to establish a biblical, theologically reformed, open, hospitable, and international church. And the focus we try to be, from the very beginning, to very evangelistic, an evangelistic focus. And that means that each of the activities we do has at least as one of its purposes to reach out to those who have not yet heard the gospel. The biggest challenge is to establish the church with elders and deacons, to increase our membership and to decrease our external dependency. On the day I retire, I would like there to be another pastor, elders, and for the church to have its own premises.
Now, the church in Almuñecar puts a lot of emphasis on evangelism. It's a very outward-looking fellowship. And one significant form of outreach involves radio broadcasting. Can you tell us about this and how you use it to reach people?
The truth is that the radio project is a very useful tool for us. We mean that we are using a non-Christian commercial radio station, so the audience has more likely never heard the gospel. The number of people who can potentially listen to those programs is around 150,000, and the programs are 1 minute and 20 seconds long, most of them with a question and answer about faith-related topics, which end with announcing, advertising the church, and inviting people to visit us.
Let's move on now to the food bank that the church runs. Tell us about that and if it's led to any opportunities to share the gospel.
Yes, the food distribution always give us opportunities to talk to them personally and to get to know them better and to preach the gospel to them. At Christmas, for example, we were able to give them a New Testament. And besides, in our Catholic culture, it is a good witness to the neighborhood as well.
Now, can you tell us about some of the summer outreach opportunities that you normally have?
Every summer, since the beginning of the war here, we have had groups of young people doing different kind of activities in the streets, in the parks, in the squares, and lately on the beach. With the last EMF Go Europe team, a group of young people from Northern Ireland came, and we had a great outreach of children and families. And every day we had a break in the middle of the activities, and we preached the gospel to the children and parents. This year we are finding it difficult to start them again, but we are looking forward to doing it again. Yes.
Thank you for that. Now we're going to draw things to a close, but before we do so, perhaps you could tell us how people in the UK and further afield can pray for you and support you.
Answering your question, you can support us financially through EMF with the pastoral salary, or specifically with one of the projects of the church. We are open to receive volunteers who want to come to learn Spanish and to collaborate to help the church. Also, please, and this is probably the most important thing, please pray for our activities, for more people, and for more workers, for more fruit of our labor. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.